Hello, everybody. I'm Marissa. This is a little bit of practice and pages and process for me. I've had this very interesting experience of learning how to share without overthinking, or as I'm overthinking. I take off my glasses. So I have a propensity to feel really good in the creative processes that I partake in. I don't know if I can call myself a former dancer now or if will always be a dancer. My mother was a dancer. My father was a martial artist. I am very intuitive in the way in which I move and be and breathe. I have let my massage certification lapse, but I have been a state certified body worker for over a decade and performing arts instructor for longer than that. And I've been finding a new way to be with myself, one that is maybe less exacting than the kind of processes I used to be a part of and the kind of way of showing up into practice that was modeled to me by my martial artist father and modern dancer mother. That there is a lot of intergenerational wounding that has happened through lineages of learning how to be in different kinds of movement arts. And I've been doing a lot of research to really figure out how systemically my wounds sort of are in creative arts industries and programs of study in general, and then just general cultural narratives and how it really ties to just so much of patriarchy and so much of spiritual supremacy and how Christianity has moved throughout the world and really silenced and otherized a lot of the practices that that are connected to the reason why I love and enjoy and delve into the arts in the first place. Today is January 1st, 2022. And it's been a hard couple of years, y'all. I'm sure you know it. We're in another surge of pandemic. I have a dear family member, one of my closest, in the hospital right now with COVID. Has been for about a week. Wasn't sure they'd make it out for a while. It looks like they will. Another family member has been in and out of the hospital for other reasons, but I've been COVID unemployed, thankfully, for the duration of the pandemic. As I was just the way in which I was making money both was not available during COVID times, and also in the silence, in the in-between, in the space of having more time to myself. I'm also recognizing how much physical and emotional, psychological, spiritual pain I've been in for such a very long time. And so much of it has to do with how I felt I was supposed to show up in order to move in the careers in which I was engaged in, which was teaching performing arts practices and working as a massage therapist. And there are ways in both of them where intermittently in the right class or with the right group of students or with the core connected clients, I would be able to do the kind of work that I feel most called to, which is really talking to the undercurrents, the unseen, really speaking to the nervous system, the pre-verbal sort of spaces of just like resonance. And and the thing is, though, is that I've been so frustrated for such a long time because I feel like what I do and how I do it, I want to like demystify the mystical and like normalize the etheric, as opposed to leaning into the languaging of that which has been persecuted as witchcraft, and that which is the occult, but also is judged as something scary, oftentimes because people are afraid of themselves. I have been trying to find a way to show up to the kind of work I want to show up to in a way that feels like it's aligned to like the core of who I am without hiding who I am, but also finding a kind of language that both isn't appropriating the sort of spiritual context which I'm speaking of and from, but at the same time, like it's so when I tune and tap into what it is I want to speak from, it's not about appropriation, it's about like what's present, but what's present has been appropriated so much that then there's this confusion that I get into a bit around how to navigate gracefully through waters that are very volatile right now in many different directions. So I come here tonight in my robe with this like glaring light on me, which maybe I'll turn down a little bit, to just kind of check back in with myself. I've been developing a lot of free content, and then I started to get really angry that all the content I was developing was free, and that as an artist who has, I'm gonna cry, so much of my work that I've done throughout my professional career has been an investment. And the thing about the arts, which, you know, I certainly did know this going in, and I'm sure many of those of you who are also artists do know this, or who are wanting to be or wish you were, recognize that there is a certain degree of unknown and uncertainty that comes along with the choice to pursue a career or in a kind of craft that doesn't have a more structured, formulaic way to make income and earn a living. I'm trying to find a way to show up honestly where I'm not hiding myself, but I also feel like I am finding more consistency. And what I've been finding lately is I keep wanting to retreat back and back and back, in part because it has felt like so much of what I'm doing is an investment. So much of what I'm doing has been throughout my life because I believe in a project, or because I believe in a group of people, or because I want to help. And there's a lot of codependency and overfunctioning and under earning that I am in recovery from. And there is a part of me, and also an experience of knowing that, like, it's not, in order for me to feel financially fluid and successful, it has to not be about the money. And I do recognize that. And at the same time, it is, for someone who has throughout her life had a very volatile relationship with money, and a very inconsistent one, and one where when I'm trying to make money and I'm doing a good job and things seem to be going well, then my body breaks down, and then I can't work for months on end because of systemic chronic pain issues. It's a hard thing to let go and trust. When I've let go and trusted before, things actually do tend to work out. When I try to fixate and focus on and push for something to work out, they tend to not work out. So there's that as well. But at the same time, I want some sort of reliability. I want some sort of consistency. I want some sort of way. I've got like my big fuzzy robe. This robe was my grandma's. She's still with us, but she was getting rid of it, and I saw it and I was like, I think I need a grandma robe at home. So this is one of my like self-regulating resources. That and my like a cup of tea, peppermint tea from Celestial Seasons. I love it so much, so much, so much. And I've got an old journal with me here today that I wanted to read to you. And I just kind of feel like I want to let my mind wander a bit. I want to let what I'm saying kind of just spill out a little bit. And I was really trying to find like form to what I make and how I share and why I share. And I want to take my hair out now because I'm just tired. I'm just like tired. I'm tired and I don't want to try so hard. I'm tired and I don't want to make things in the way in which I was hoping that I would show up and make things. And I go through these periods where I'm just like, I want to like tear it all down and I don't want to do what it was I was building. But then it's like, but then do I keep showing up or do I not keep showing up? How do I keep showing up? And I've had these, oh, we're going to pause because I need a Kleenex because I just need Kleenex. Hang on. Pause. Okay, I'm back. I've lost my teeth, brushed my teeth. I was like, I can't. You know, so those days when you just can't, life is just so much. It's how I feel right now. And I've had a lot of really wonderful things amidst the lot of things. So I don't feel like I'm wallowing, but I do feel like I'm very like I've just spent a lot of energy, and I'm very aware of that. I don't even necessarily feel depleted. I just feel like open and spent. Maybe that is a form of depletion, but there still feels like there's movement. Anyways, I decided today I didn't want to, because things are as they are, I don't feel like, aside from just filling you in just now, I don't really feel like reading you my pages from today or this week or doing even new pages with you right now. I kind of wanted to just maybe read some of my old pages from a couple years ago. And I just went through I have two little bins full of my old journals from, oh gosh, last, I don't know, 8 to 10 years or something. I have so many. And I just picked one up from 2017. So it's from an old journal with a Thoreau quote on it. And it says, "This world is but a canvas to our imagination," by Thoreau. And I got this book when I was teaching a Shakespeare class at the Huntington Library, I believe. I was going to read you, I think, September 3rd. And then I just decided to shift to a different page. Okay. No, here it is. Maybe it was the 2nd. Yeah. Okay. We're going to read September 2nd. And we're going to let me just be disparate, kind of elusive to myself, because this seems to be where I feel best sharing from this sort of uncontained space. And the actual capturing of it is the containment, as opposed to me trying to plot out and structure and format and then meet that. This is what I like, this is what I teach, but for some reason when I show up to do, I feel like I'm not allowed to, or I do to a certain point, and then it feels too vulnerable, and then I feel like I need time and space and need to like reorient, rethink, because sometimes what does come out is so vulnerable. And you know, when you share online, and a lot of people see, depending on what I'm sharing, and you know, I mean, comparatively to other people who create stuff, it's like a very modest amount of people see, but there are enough, people that want to say unkind things, that, or that view you in a way that just feels a little too graspy, or something that becomes uncomfortable. And so, because I'm so sensitive to energies, it's been a lesson in how to cultivate my awareness of my own energetic boundaries of both containment and also what I let out and what I let in. And so, so this is a practice. It's an ever evolving practice. It's a practice that I likely will continue the rest of my life, because I tend to be more of an introverted person, but that is really drawn to the performing arts for some reason. And while I do love the performing arts, there's a degree of engagement with community and connection and networking, right? That feels no bueno to me. And so I have been wanting to cultivate a different way of showing up into community, a different way of understanding what networking is, a way of it being more having a sort of kismet understanding of creative connection that draws us together. And I have had that with many people in my creative career, and those tend to be the most beautiful kinds of collaborations, or work alongside one another in a supportive way. And so I want to continue fostering that, but in a larger scale and scope, whatever that means. And eventually at some point, maybe money will follow somehow. I don't know how. And I'm deciding and choosing to listen to whatever it is that wants to move through me that says, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Just keep sharing. Don't worry about that. Notice when you start to feel resistant. Notice when you start to feel taken advantage of, and then just use that as a course correct, and know that you're overextending more than you want to actually give, or you are showing up in a way that isn't actually replenishing you in your process, in your practice, which is a strange thing to do, because, you know, we learn to make money by doing some sort of like an exchange. And I feel like if I'm not exchanging something very directly, whether that's a lesson or whether that's a like some sort of very clear intentional relationship. I'm used to being a teacher or a facilitator or a guide or a body worker, right? If I don't feel like I am earning an exchange, I don't feel like I deserve some sort of reciprocal dynamic that feeds me in some way, however that feeds me. So, you know, like many of us, it's a lesson in self-worth and belonging and understanding that, you know, you are so very worthy and valuable of having your needs met, for showing up and being yourself, especially as you really truly do become more and more of yourself. I think there is a degree of beauty that can arise from just sharing from there. And you know, part of what's shared from there is your interests, is your history, is your education that you've developed and honed. And maybe you don't have to try so hard to make it into a course or a super digestible something, but maybe somehow it will still be digestible to the right people in the way in which they want and need, because they feel not so digestible either. And so there's some sort of simpatico. I don't know, but whatever it is, however it is that I'm showing up right now, this feels honest today. And it feels like I've been recessing for too long, and I need to find a way to show back up. So here I am giving this a try. Okay, I got my big old glasses on and my grandma robe and my tea and my little mug that says home sweet home in my home sweet home. And my old journal, and I'm going to read to you from September 2nd, 2017. At home now and ready almost to go to the Hollywood Bowl. My back is on the fritz again, I must say, or admit. Perhaps I can see, I'm going to leave out names, but there's a woman that I would see for Turkish coffee readings and card readings. So I was saying perhaps I could see my my reader tomorrow after my meeting with the director and the stage manager of the project I was working on. My reader, she is running out of coffee, so perhaps I could pick her up some on my way to the meeting and then grab some dinner and bring back over. My back is hurting again. I would bring her extra Turkish coffee when she was running low. She's sort of like an auntie to me in many ways. So there's this like family style connection that I have with not all, but a lot of the healers or the intuitive creatives or life coaches or guides that have floated through my life. I'm looking for my Kleenex because my nose itches. Oh gosh, I'm like so cozied up. I look like I'm sick. I'm not, I'm just tired. Okay. My back is hurting again. I have chronic back pain and have since high school. And herniated discs in my back from some acute injuries as well. From dance and working with kids, teaching gymnastics and blah, blah, blah. Health and career are tied. For me, my health and my career have been intrinsically tied. My lower back is finances, which equals my prostitute archetype. So I'm speaking in archetypes and how they're related to the different areas and ailments of my body. I was at the time reading, I think, listening to Carolyn Mace, Myss, but I think it's pronounced Mace. And she has a book that I was listening to on audio called Advanced Energy Anatomy, I believe is what it was called. And she goes through different types of archetypes that she discusses and how, there's a myriad of multiple types of archetypes we can associate with or resonate with or embody. And she was talking in this one book or in this one section that there are 4 main archetypes that everybody has. And there are plenty of others that, our select people have. But I think, but the prostitute archetype was one of those 4. And the concept was, what are you compromising for money or for safety? So what is it that you're giving up in relationship to, like a trade, like a contract in exchange for safety or money? That's related to the prostitute archetype. And then I continue. I am agog. My back hurts and I feel pulled in a million different directions. I don't take to overstimulation. I am currently overstimulated. I did not want this, and yet I called for it. Sweet and luscious marks the spot. Hurry, hurry, sweet nothing, something stirs. So there's something in my life that was manifesting that felt like too much, too soon, too fast, and like not what I wanted, but also what I wanted, and something that I called for, but I wasn't ready for. The bait and bread of having perspires, and again, time does something. Time knocks, and again, time knocks. Follow the helm and the home. Be but quick. Is this the way traveled past? Curiosity, skilled set of swords and bows, arcing angles, sets of pearls. My light shines, I reflect its screened glimmer. From the bated breath, spirit rises. From the earth, an animation takes shape. Translucent smile, clear rivered eye, a call to the honeycomb, and the ink runs dry. We are on fire and the land turns to ash in this heat. Well, you know the familiar and how you see not seen and wherewithal. The light at the tunnel knocks and we might as well be outside. The swelter sweet restless of sticky days in transit, and oh, how time plays tricks. Mine is to welcome grace onto me. Mine is to allow the use of my life as a verse, as a vessel. Mine is to walk the path of choice and contract. Mine is to fully animate the highest possible outcome. Every step along each grain, a fallow fair and fairly noble net. The sauce is bottled up tight and comes out in squirts. The finest day is the one with a mixture. Or am I off base? I am off base. The finest day strikes anew in every way. Or am I off again? Not as far astray. My content speaks volumes. My body holds prayer. The lilting willow bends out over the water's edge, dancing on the glassy precipice, mixed between the old and new. Water and air are both friend to some, yet many will cease when one goes without the other. A fine time to stay the while, a fine spine to stay, and yet how does the daisy daffodil dive and swallow the world? My daily craze is poking back up, and it is allowed to find new ground. I'm going to read you September 3rd as well. September 3rd, and in my inner world leads to a place I hadn't quite thought through. Well, then I am at your mercy and guided, I'll be true. What fell swoop lies in this, my honey breath worn out, to say to stay, a mockumentary divine, a trade, a fixed couplet of time. My metaphors grow weary, and along the day is long. Be peace, be glory, be everlasting light, a time, an essence, a place to be and mine. Heart things run quick to the pulse. What light is light, what dark is dark. Still, what's light is dark, what's dark is light. A pox on the whole kit and caboodle. At home, and what a day. My sweetheart left to San Diego this morning with his friend. Their team is in town and they're staying at a hostel tonight. I saw a different healer of mine for a much needed session. It was a neurofeedback session. If you haven't looked into neurofeedback, it's quite epic and amazing. We watched 27 dresses and she calmed my brainwaves down. I feel much more grounded, present, aware after our session. After that, I stopped by one of the markets and picked up some coffee and some other things for the other reader I was talking about earlier. Then made the trek in the heat. We are having a serious heat wave up to the directors for a meeting with our stage manager to hash out scheduling and logistics. A very nice time. And we made a lot of good, solid communication method agreements. My mind flits and flatters, boosts a gumdrop and spins down that spiral descent. I am a joy. My sense of spirit ignites and I have good times from here on out. Laughter and renewal return to the threshold and makes a nest in the corner of the room. My heart enlivens and I feet the beat of it. My intention flies south. The gates begin to open. The evacuation of these parts and pieces long overdue for fresh air and free reign. Tomorrow I will start a juice cleanse and get my allergies back on track. It's time to put more dedication, more dedicated care into the health of my body. I found out that I'm like allergic to a lot of different foods. So I was trying to do a cleanse to get my allergic responses back down. New clothes, working out, exercise, healthy eating, it is time. My body has gotten stronger and the act of teaching has improved my dancing tenfold. I had a great time dancing for a promo video of a friend's the other day. So much fun being in front of the camera. I feel so happy, free, and at home there. Opening up more and more to these experiences. I am a performing artist. My performance is captured on the film. Go, go, go. because I like to perform in a captured way. In a way that captures something. There's something I like about that. I know a lot of people really love live performance, and I just love it to a certain degree too, or I do love it. And I think that's why I love improvisation, and that's why I like to be in this free flowing spirit that I'm talking about being in during this video, and not pre-planning so much and just kind of feeling a little lost in the ethers. Not lost, but like free, open, present, expansive in the ethers. It feels good to me there. I feel like I have space there. I want to like clean and open space and clean and open space and clean and open space. And this is sort of like a energetic movement thing that I'm doing right now that feels good to do. You're welcome to join me in it. If that feels good to you. But one thing I do know is that I'm just very sensitive to movement. I'm sensitive to energy. I'm sensitive to what is left unsaid. And I have been gaslit a lot in my life. And my intuition has picked up on things that people have told me was not there, and later come to reveal that the thing that I thought was there. And that for me was a mind fuck. Learning how to trust myself when I've convinced myself I must not be trustworthy because it doesn't align with the reality that others were sharing with me. And then to later find out that what it was that my body, my instincts, my intuition were picking up on was actually present. And what wasn't meeting and matching the reality was the story the person was feeding me. But my instincts, my connection, my discernment was there. And for me, this is such like a huge thing for me to keep remembering, like to trust my instincts, to trust my intuition, to trust like how I connect to that. And there's something in this sort of like congested space I have where I'm showing up now and I like feel like I need to be warm. I look like I'm sick, but I'm not sick. But like I have this like congestion that feels like it wants to be nurtured and held and like cozied and regulated because there's something in there for me, because within that feels like some sort of like nugget of gold that like as I nurture that part of me, like that's where a lot of the strength is actually going to come from. If I can continue to learn how to be in connection with that and to share from that place, but in a way that's not that I don't feel like I'm putting myself in danger while doing it. So hence the robe helps me feel safe, like I'm less in danger. Hence the tea helps me feel safe, like I'm less in danger. And eventually I may show back up to my project, Self-Care for Performers. That's been the intention this whole time. And I'm trying to build some sort of like resiliency or some sort of way or approach or something to figure out how, where, when. I have so many beautiful conversations with people. I've recorded a couple of those conversations, and I have a couple more on the docket. So I think at some point I'll be sharing those in some platform, whether that's on a podcast form or a YouTube form or some kind of form. I definitely know that I think that I resonate probably best with people who like longer form content, because I like longer form content. And I may as well make content for people like me. I may as well make something that I like and be satisfied in the making process. There's a great Katharine Hepburn quote. I can't remember what it is. I'm going to butcher it, but something along the lines of like, always like, I always seek to like keep myself satisfied because at least then someone's happy. Because when you try to make everyone happy, oftentimes nobody is, right? So figuring out what works for you, figuring out what works for me, figuring out if and where they might align, and finding ways to continue to show up in a way that feels true to me, but also not so dangerous, because there is a lot of what I want to talk about. I also recognize, like, I have lost friends and family over being honest about the impact of certain ways people live their lives and how it does impact me, regardless of their intention. So conversations like that I do want to have around the performing arts as well. And so self-care for performers is a lot about like breaking cycles of abuse in the performing arts industries, or in just the performing arts period, in ourselves, in our own bodies, right? Creative connection, which has so much to do with, like, for me, body belonging, and listen to your instincts and intuition, and finding a sense of like integration and harmony, creative flow, and also conscious collaboration, like being conscious and mindful in how you're practicing, how you're communicating, who you're showing up with, and where and when, and being actively engaged in how you're crafting your connections in your career and the choices that you're making, so that you feel good about the life that you're fostering for yourself, whether that is in the performing arts or whether that's somewhere else, but that the same rules can apply. So the same concepts you can use of how you listen to your body, how you regulate your nervous system, how you attune to your own needs and sense when your body says something is a big no, like honoring that, listening to that, maybe getting more information, or just distancing yourself and creating a lot of space, whatever that is for you. And that's what I'm learning to do here as I'm sharing. I wanted to come into space, but I needed to have my my cozies with me today, figuring it out as I go. If you'd like to join me on Patreon, I currently have no patrons, and I'd love to have you there. It's strange continuing a Patreon with no patrons and figuring out how much am I willing to invest into creating that platform live, in hopes that at some point I'll be consistent enough for long enough that people will want to join and continue to stay joined and find value there. And what is it that people find value in versus and or in conjunction with what I find value in showing up for and with, and doesn't feel taxing to me. And at this point, it's what doesn't feel taxing to me while there is no reciprocal generative income coming from it for online sharing. Both in the Patreon and outside of the Patreon. And so I'm trying to figure out what I want to make for me, how I want to make for me. And then if anyone wants to come along for the ride, great. And for the larger project of self-care for performers, how it's have really clear ideas around it. And I feel my nervous system not quite ready, not quite ready, not quite ready. And so I want to honor that, and I want to build resiliency along the way to get to the point where I am quite ready, and that feels good. I started a project called Marissa's Moon Magic to help me through that. It felt like I was getting to a place where I could consistently do that, but it felt like it would take the place of self-care for performers in my life with my energy and my focus. And I decided that, I think I put the time, the interest, the space into my phone's, or my computer's gonna die. Hang on. Okay, plugged in. So yeah, I was getting a lot of intuitive hits, and also some other information just coming from the etheric plane that was very clear that it was a misdirection of my energy, that yes, I could turn that into, I could keep showing up that way and it would eventually work out and pan out, but it was off course from the course that I feel like I'm being asked to live into. And the one that really does truly in a core way feel really aligned to how I will want to continue to foster my livelihood and life and sense of community. But I had to learn some new skills, and my Marissa's Moon Magic helped me with that. And as soon as I was like, okay, and here I am, and I'm going to keep showing up, I was like, oh, no, no more, no more of that. That's too much time and focus and energy away from the thing that was supposed to be helping you build stamina, resiliency to get back to. So I went ahead and canceled all of those platforms, all of my social media and website and YouTube and all of the platforms I had Marissa's Moon Magic on. I just sort of ended that. Because when we're creators, we have a finite amount of energy and focus. And even leaving it open and not doing anything on it, I felt the energetic signature of it. And I wanted to sort of close that off so that it wasn't energy that was still being sent out in the ethers to that area. I wanted to kind of like seal it off so I could refunnel that energy back into the other projects that I'm doing. This one, which is self-supportive and self-care for performers, which I get very dysregulated with because I just have so much history of trauma and abuse from the performing arts. That my nervous system has a hard time showing up there, or I'm really good at like grounding myself through a period of time and then I have to recover for a while. So I want to be able to talk about that more transparently in a way where I don't feel like I'm fighting some sort of idea of how I'm supposed to show up within the project, or I'm able to just show up that way because I've worked through what I need to work through here in Pages in Process. So anyways, that's where I'm at today. This is my process. And I read you some pages from a couple years ago, from a very poignant time in my life a couple years ago when a lot was going on and a lot of new information was coming in. I was doing a lot of like that somatic attunement and stream of consciousness writing in that where things don't totally make sense. I'm kind of almost, it's like I was attuning to my body, but I was stream of consciousness and the consciousness itself wasn't necessarily my body, but the consciousness and my body were in relationship with one another. And I was sort of pulling out words from the ethers to sort of dance into this sort of amalgamation of something. And so that's what a lot, not all of the pages, but like portions of the pages were feeling kind of like that. And I look back at them now and I read them and I do feel how they captured sort of this essence and quality that I wasn't ready to say words around the actual experience I was having. And I don't know that I've been practicing it, but the words around what was actually going on in that time in a more like literal way. But when I've tried to do that or when I have done that, it's not gone so well. And so there is a degree of poeticism that I think helps lessen, dilute almost the potency of what I was going through at that time. That seems to be necessary for me for it to be more like medicine and less like poison. So there are ways we can dilute the experience or modulate our experience of something when it's a whole lot of information or content or like newness coming in at one time. Anyways, let's do this. We're gonna close together in a little moment. Go ahead and put your hand on your heart and your other hand you can put on your belly if you want to, and just take a deep breath in. And exhale, allowing your spine to stack one vertebrae upon the other. And again, deep breath and softening through the heart, just feeling your chest relax back and down, your belly drop and release, softening into your pelvis. And letting the muscles on your face just melt, 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 melt down. Muscles on your throat melt, 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 melt down through your clavicle, collarbone, all through the top of your rib cage. Melt, melt, melt. Wide, wide, wide. Spread, spread, spread. All the way down through your hands, the palms of your hands, which can either be face up or face down, as you feel is right. And just if they're face up, receive energy in. If they're face down, go ahead and envision like a closed circuit that you're running that energy through. And let's just be here for a moment or a few. Noticing your breath and if it's changing or shifting in any way or staying stable in whatever pattern it's currently with. Not trying to force it or change it to do anything, just letting it to be what it is. And opening through the third eye, in the forehead, between the two eyes, between the brows. Just imagining space there, opening, melting, melting, melting. And you may want to give your head a little shake. You may want to stretch your arms. Yeah, maybe even give yourself a little hug. A little self-love. All right. I wish you a wonderful 2022. This January 1st, first day of the year. Oh, it's not. It's past midnight now. It is now January 2nd. I hope you have a wonderful day. Whenever I post this, you will be seeing it not on the 1st, which is when I started recording. So with that in mind, I need to take down my Christmas lights now. Holiday lights. It was the solstice. Now it's the new fiscal year and the Gregorian calendar. Our Lunar New Year is coming up in February for the year of the tiger. Here we go. Be well.